What's up, everybody? Big Apple Breakdown back with another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the Yankees and Mets, the Knicks maybe zeroing in on their head coach, as well as both New York teams making some moves in the NBA offseason. Henry, how are you doing?
Doing good. The Yankees and Mets, they've kind of hit that point in the season. Both obviously slumping, but that stretch in the season where you're kind of just like waiting to get to the All-Star break. It's a little bit almost the boring part of the baseball season, but these games still count, and the Yankees and Mets don't seem like they're really acting like they do count. They got to step it up a little bit.
For sure. Slumps happen, but to me, I think for both sides, this feels a little bit more than that, as this has been going on for the Yankees, and pretty much a month now. They've both been playing bad baseball. They were both first place teams, kind of red hot in May, and they're both really falling off. And the Yankees are starting to get to that, mid, like they're not back, but they're playing a little better. The Mets, really struggling.
The Mets, I feel like on paper makes more sense because it's their pitching that's totally imploding, and their pitching was a big question mark coming into the season. And going into last year, they did the same sort of thing where they had all these project arms and they all ended up working out. And they were kind of hoping that the same thing could happen this year. But with the Yankees, it seems like an effort thing. It's just boneheaded mistakes, base running. Last night we had Volpe with 2 bad throws. They seem checked out, and it's Ben Rice had the one base running mistake the other day where he ended up scoring. Dominguez had a base running error where he didn't know how many outs there were, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he had something like this last year or 2 years ago. I think it was last year maybe. But I feel like it's the same thing every year, or well, at least with last year with the Torres stuff where he didn't care or was showing bad effort. And I feel like Boone allows this to go on too long, and then he tries to step in, and it's too little too late when you let the inmates run the asylum, essentially.
Before I rebuttal your statement, for some reason we have a little bit of a hate comment. Two Yankee fans during a live podcast two Yankee fans doing a live podcast during a Yankee games. I'm confused. Don't you guys watch your team? Yes, but we both have busy schedules, man. We can't just do a podcast whenever. This is what worked out for us, and it's a 162 game season. I don't need to watch every game to determine how good my team is.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think a lot of it for the Yankees is this is just Aaron Boone led teams. This has been a path that's happened since at least 2022, where red hot start, looked like the best team in baseball, really, really bad stretch, okay stretch, and then that's just kind of how you are for the rest of the year. 2023, just a horrible, horrible year. But at one point they were a first place team, and they really, really fell off. And even last year, they looked like one of the best teams in baseball, probably World Series favorite in my opinion in May. And they finished the year 500, kind of had 2 favorable paths to the World Series. And I'm just sick of this happening every year. And the stuff that bothers me is the base running, the effort, the no plate discipline. There are so many opportunities with the Yankees where there's a moment where they can just run on second, 1 or 2 outs, or 1 or no outs, hit the ball to second base, advance the runner. They just don't do that. They don't do the fundamentals, and I'm sick of it. And I really think it's on the manager because this has been a consistent path.
Even last night, so they intentionally walked Judge a bunch of times. They intentionally gave him the Barry Bonds treatment, intentionally walked him with a runner on second. But later on in the game, when they intentionally walked him, Jazz Chisholm came up. He's been swinging a really hot bat, and he bunted. He bunted right to the pitcher. Like, dude, go up there and swing the bat.
I was so confused. It was a terrible bunt, too. I thought the pitcher could have gotten Judge out at second.
I did, too. When I was watching it, I was like, he could have thrown it second.
That's the lead runner. I caught that part of the game, and then that was a frustrating because they had a real chance to, tie the game. And I don't know. Volpe actually had a hard hit ball that was an out, but yeah. I feel like so many Yankee games come down to Anthony Volpe, and he never gets the clutch hit this season.
Yeah, the clutch hit, and just again his his throws yesterday. So he had one to third that was similar to the World Series one that he totally botched, and like in his post game presser, he looked like a scared kid getting confronted almost by the media. And when Boone was asked about it, Boone protects him so much. And then there was another presser talking about JC Ascara. There was a wild pitch, and he went back to the backstop to get it, threw it to Rodon at home because the runner advanced from second to third, and Boone was saying that was unacceptable from Ascara to do. That was a risky play when that's what you're supposed to do. Throw it to the pitcher, home plate, so that the runner doesn't advance. But then he's sitting there just protecting Volpe, and I almost it seems like in that case, Ascara's Boone's example, like how last year Torres was his example, and it seemed like that relationship between Torres is much more talented player, much better player than Ascara, but it seems like Boone has to take someone to like make an example out of, and when they did it with Torres last year, totally tore apart the relationship between the Yankees and Torres, and the Yankees maybe are kind of looking a little bit dumb for not bringing Torres back. He might be an all-star this year. I think they could really use him. Like Jazz is playing third base right now.
It is kind of funny that Torres has had this great year, and for me, like I've said this multiple times on this show, the Torres divorce to me just felt like such an off-field situation where, of course, Torres is not a great defender, but that relationship just was so ruined, I think, by that point that there was no getting back together.
Yeah, I mean,
like the bat, of course, you would want that bat in your lineup right now. Like the way
and the talent's always been there. It has kind of been an effort thing with Torres. Sometimes he's very on, sometimes he's very off, and I get it. Like that's on the player. The player has to. They're getting paid all this money. They have to show up and be ready to play. But for someone as young as Torres, when he came up here a couple years ago, there's some players like that where if they don't have that support system in place early on, then they think that they get to just do whatever they want. And that's kind of the team that Aaron Boone runs, where he lets guys get away with a bunch of stuff until he doesn't. But by the time he tries to step in and get guys to like stop doing their bad habits and things like that, it's a little bit too late because he had let it go on for so long.
All right. We got a question about the Mets here. With Senga and Minaya coming back, do you think the Mets will still get a big-time starting pitcher? So do you think Bassett gets traded? I can't see Bassett getting traded, but I don't know. I wonder if the Mets, almost in a way, I think they need bullpen more than anything. Their bullpen's horrible. I think both New York teams need bullpen, but the Mets have really been blowing games, and it feels like just Diaz kind of on that team right now. But I don't like when teams do this. Like the Yankees kind of do this a lot, where they will say a player coming back from injury is their trade deadline move, and
my gosh, yeah.
I hate when teams do this, and I really do think the Mets need a few moves, and just mainly pitching. I don't love their lineup all the way, but I think they need a starter or even multiple. I wouldn't trust Montas. Peterson I like, but really anyone else I don't think I'd like there. Your bullpen you need, I think, at least two arms there. So, yes, I think the Mets are going to be aggressive at the deadline in both starting pitching and bullpen.
And honestly, they do need starters too. It feels like, if I'm not mistaken, Clay Holmes has really been the only bright spot.
Holmes and Peterson, I think, are
Peterson,
all right, but Canning just got hurt. And then I know all Mets fans hate Paul Blackburn, I believe. They hate him. Like, that's like the guy they hate this year. But they definitely need to make a few moves at the deadline. So do the Yankees, though. Like we had it on our Instagram about what moves you think they need at the deadline. And I'm actually going to read what – I think I still have those. I'm actually going to read what our viewers said because I think they were a few Mets stuff. All right, expired. Never mind then, because it was 24 hours. But
Yeah, I could find it.
you can find it. All right, perfect. But we have another. So there's a Subway Series this weekend, dude. 4th of July. Interesting timing because of how bad both these teams are playing. It's gonna be weird because like the first Subway Series felt like, wow, like, this could be a legit World Series matchup. I swear, both these teams' season went to crap when I made that video saying they could play each other in the World Series. Like, I don't know what happened.
It feels much less anticipated just
Definitely.
because last time, you had the big Juan Soto return, so that sort of thing.
That's
And it feels less important because both teams are playing so poorly. But I think that's also just the grind of the baseball season. Like, slumps are going to happen. I just feel like these slumps are totally unacceptable, especially the Mets this past weekend. How they got outscored 30-4 by the Pirates.
That's
like
ridiculous.
that just doesn't happen. So it was Kevin Struble who responded to that poll of who the Yankees and Mets should be getting at the trade deadline. He's a Mets fan, so I'm guessing he's talking about
It's
the
probably
Mets.
the Mets.
But he said bullpen, starting pitching, center fielder, third base, catcher.
Okay. That's ridiculous. You see, like, it's five. I think bullpen starting pitcher are legit. I mean, they just brought Alvarez down, so it's crazy. You thought in March you have catcher locked down for the Mets. Like I don't know if you remember. It's kind of funny looking back now. There were Alvarez and Wells debates, which is kind of ridiculous. I thought at the time even, but
yeah,
I think outfield could be. I think Jarren Duran was a popular one I saw for the Mets.
But Wells also, like, he's been in some like fan made trade talks.
I don't love
Twitter.
Wells. I mean, it's fine for a catcher. He's fine for a catcher, but
his bat.
There's a lot of Yankees on this team that I'm fine with, but I just don't love. I don't know if you feel that way.
The one thing I will say about Wells is I feel like he was marketed towards us like completely opposite, because they said he's a bat, but we don't know what he'll bring defensively as a catcher. He might have to get put out in a corner outfield spot or first base. And he's had his moments of getting hot, and last year he had really great stretches of getting hot, but it feels like it's almost the opposite. He's really great defensively, and yes, he has his moments at the plate, but he can seem almost lost at the plate sometimes.
Sorry. Let's put up my laptop. Can you hear that?
I heard something.
It's on my laptop. I was on like a website for notes, and an app popped up. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. Let me get back to the other doc. Do you think DeGrom gets traded, and what possible other pitchers you can see getting traded? No, I don't think DeGrom gets traded just because it's a big contract. I think I actually think the Yankees would be all over Jacob DeGrom. Mets, like, you think it, I just don't. I kind of saw John Heyman, who doesn't have the like pretty legit reporter, but he kind of was assuming. He just said he doesn't. It's not very likely a reunion happens. I also just don't see DeGrom getting traded. I don't. It's a big contract,
and I would have to see where the Rangers are in the standings, but he's pitching like a Cy Young candidate right now.
I think they are kind of sellers though.
Okay. The thing that's weird about
they're 41
nowadays. The thing that's weird about the MLB nowadays with the extra wild card spot is like it's harder to.
There's less sellers for sure.
Yeah, there's less sellers, and it's harder at this point in time to tell who's going to be buying and who's going to be selling.
And if you look at the American League wild card, I think like the market's like very like, I mean, sorry, the standings are like 2 games above 500 or 3 games above 500 for the 5th and 6th place in the wild card. So a lot like the Rangers could legit like they could have a good week and become buyers.
Yeah, and I mean that's how it always is in baseball, but I feel like that's one of the more interesting things to me that like teams right now that we could be talking about selling in 3 weeks, we might be like, "Oh, they're buying."
Mm.
So, you know what's another name I've heard tossed around, not really necessarily with the Yankees and Mets, but just in general is Freddie Peralta of the Brewers. If they sell,
Yeah, the Brewers are the national. See, like that's funny because like the National League is just so much better than the American League. Like if you look at the wild card standings, there's like teams 8, 9 games above 500 not in it, and that's an interesting one because could Milwaukee sell? Like they could maybe be a fringe wild card team, but do you almost trade to get some assets? Oh, I think Severino to the Mets could happen. That's one I think I think they're going to trade in the A's, and I think the Mets had a good year with him last year. I don't think they mind the contract, and you bring him back.
yeah, and he's been. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He's been pretty good, but just a 2
He's been
times a Yankee.
horrible at home, and he
Okay,
hates playing with the A's.
at that, yeah, at that.
But he has like a 3
minor league
ERA on
ballpark.
the road, so it's
Okay,
really weird. But he has like a 6 ERA in that stadium.
gotcha. But I could see how guys
He hates it.
hate playing at a minor league stadium. It's probably just totally different than playing at an MLB ballpark, just in general. So, what about like third basemen for the Yankees? Do you have any guys you like?
There's some names that I see where I'm like, ew, like that. The one from the Angels, I can't think of his name on the top of my head.
I know who you're talking about. His last
Yeah.
name starts with like an E.
Yeah. I don't like that. IKF doesn't like
I
I don't
wouldn't
even
mind IKF though.
see what I don't know. Like yeah, Luis Renegifo. I might be saying his last name wrong. That's the one I've seen
Rengifo
linked
or
to the
something.
Yankees.
Yeah.
And he's hitting 229, 4 home runs, like 9 drivers. Like, what's that gonna do?
Yeah.
The
I get it.
one I really want is Suarez from the Diamondbacks. But I think every team's gonna want that guy if he's made available.
Yes, but also I don't know if the Diamondbacks there's still some talk that they might not be selling.
I don't know, dude. They're really starting to fall out of it. They're kind of the National League, man. It's tough, and I've seen they're likely going to be sellers now.
Yeah, the only thing about that is like, they still could have potential for years to come. I like that's the one thing where like I say you don't like blow the whole entire thing up. So maybe they could see a situation where they're still competitive next year. But Suarez, like he's great with his bat, but he's a horrible defender.
Right, and do you wonder if it's just like that just adds to what the Yankees kind of already are?
Yeah, and I don't know. It would be a exciting trade for a great bat, but and you can never have enough bats, but like that's all you're getting. You're getting a bat.
He's on a contract here, so I think they trade him. He's a free agent after this year. I don't think it cost a lot, but I wonder if the Yankees do this because like typically when the Yankees make trade deadline moves, I've noticed it's a guy like Jazz we have control after 2 years. Like he's gonna be on the team for a few years, and this would be a half-year rental. I'm like pretty positive for. Yeah, I don't think they'd re-sign him unless he has some crazy run.
Yeah, Jazz also, I kind of feel like was like a diamond in the rough almost because you knew the potential he had, and he still can be extremely frustrating at times, but he just seemed like disgruntled down there in Miami, and like that he was still young, they almost crowned him as like one of the next faces of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just disgruntled. I've been seeing people, or not people, I think it came from MLB.com about trade deadline candidates, and they had Luis Robert as one. from the
I
White
saw the
Sox.
Yankees were linked to him, which made no sense to
Well,
me.
that makes no sense. And
Yeah.
also their reasoning was basically like once your team gets him, they're gonna fix him. You know, like
That would be like that's something the Dodgers do, where they get him and turn him into a stud. What
yeah.
about? But I don't want the Yankees to bring.
I
Lynch
want them to stay away from him.
And they also have too much outfielders already.
Yeah, and well, today on Talking Yanks, they were talking about the Yankees getting another outfielder.
That doesn't. What?
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't make much sense. You got to get another infielder, whether it's a third baseman or second baseman, and you keep Jazz at third, or third baseman, you move him back to second. You need another infielder, but I think they have too many outfielders right now where you could start the conversation of possibly trading Grisham. Also, when Grisham got hurt yesterday, what?
I've thought about that. Like similar to what they did with Montgomery and Bader, where you trade Grisham for something you need.
Yeah,
like an infielder in a way.
And Jason Dominguez has to start playing every day. He came in yesterday to replace
Frustrating.
Grisham, and he got 2 hits last night.
And I don't know if you saw last week, he had a 4-hit game. And the way Aaron Boone clearly decides all these lineups days ahead. He doesn't.
And he took him out of lineup the next day.
He wasn't in the next get day. I can't stand that stuff.
And well, it was Bellinger on Sunday. I saw a comment or tweet or something where Bellinger had a huge game, and someone made a joke online saying that he played his way out of the lineup the next day.
That's funny. I just it's frustrating with Dominguez for me because I think Dominguez had a pretty good rookie year, honestly. And so these other, like when Volpe came up, they played Volpe every day, and that's just not happening with Jason because of how the roster is. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating because I think you'd argue. I think you could legit argue Jason Dominguez is a better player than Anthony Volpe right now.
Oh yeah, of course.
You think it's not even a debate? I mean, defensively,
I don't. And I think the Yankees are almost hindering his development. I understand, and I was really the one who I was really hard on him.
Outfielder to me, honestly.
Yes, I was really hard on him in the beginning, and I understood maybe coddling him a little bit in the beginning. But once he showed that he can play, then you got to just put him out there and leave him out there and let him go through his growing pains a little bit. And there hasn't really even been any growing pains. His growing pains were in spring training. Once he got into the season, he's really been fine. And a lot of the stuff that the mistakes he has made have kind of been like me nitpicking him a little bit.
It's just hard, though, because, you have Grisham, you have Bellinger, and now that Stanton comes back, that affects his playing time because Stanton's DHing. And that those are nights where Jason could be DHing when they have those guys in the outfield and they DH Jason. It's just tough.
Yeah, and I understand that's like a premium position for the Yankees. They have a lot of talent in the outfield, but the way Dominguez is playing, you got to find the way to put him out there. The thing that's like that I would say is unfair, an unfair reason or unfair way to, reason to compare him to Volpe when Volpe first came up is because Volpe didn't have anyone else at his position that was splitting time with him. But again, the Yankees are a little bit too like coddly with Volpe. I don't know if you remember when Volpe came up, Boone was asked like if there's any way Volpe could get sent down. He said, nope, there's absolutely no way. And Volpe has really struggled last few years. And like we even saw with the Orioles last year when Jackson Holliday came up, he struggled, got sent back down. Like it's not a bad thing.
Happens.
To send your young supposed to be superstars down. And Volpe's never going to be a superstar. Like let's let that ship sail.
Yeah.
But like 2 years ago when people thought like, oh my God, we got this kid from Jersey, he's going to be the next Jeter. Like you gotta put a rest to some of that.
I just was talking about Volpe. I've thought about this, and I've come to a realization, Henry, that he's just never. He's a one contract player, and I really don't think that's going to change. And the Yankees are going to have some real tough decisions to make. in a 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
I really
do see
don't think he's not the next shortstop in your Yankees. He's in year 3. I don't think he's getting much better than this.
I think some of it though, it could be solved. See, and the Yankees also kind of handcuffed themselves with this. He would be a much better second baseman. He's got great range out there at shortstop and stuff, but his arm is not good. He doesn't have the arm for shortstop, but he would be a great defensive second baseman. The only thing is, like, you can't move him to second base. You have Jazz or whoever else you're gonna have there, unless you want to move him to second and then Jazz to third, but then also your second baseman's got to hit. Like, I get it. Go ahead.
I think the Volpe, the second base stuff is something that's like you might hear in 2 years when you don't know if Jad's even on the team and maybe George Lombard's up by then. I think it's definitely a possibility at some point, but not for at least 2027. Jazz still got to assume. Let's just say Jazz isn't on the team in 2 years. I think that's the next time it's brought up.
But if Jazz isn't on the team in 2 years, I don't think Volpe will be on the team in 2 years.
Jazz just has only a year and a half left in his contract, and I mean, that's just another decision they're gonna have to make. Is that a player you extend or not? So
yeah, and Jazz would be a weird spot because I've been thinking about Jazz too. Like, he's a great player and all that, but sometimes he's not worth the headaches and just like getting ejected from games, the tweets he puts out on social media, and when it's great, it's great, but when it's bad, it's like cringy and like it's like, dude, just like stop, you know?
If that feels like the type of player Cashman just lets walk. Like, look, this is all stuff a year and a half away that I'm kind of just guessing. But I kind of don't think he's part of their long-term future. Just my point of view from it.
You don't think Jazz is?
No. I think he's part of their short-term future, and maybe they do like a 2-year extension. But I don't think you're going to see Jazz Chisholm sign a 4 to 5 year deal like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but
and after 27, when all this money comes off their books, then it's like a new era almost.
He will be.
But then you still have a bunch of years left on Judge's contract. Who knows what kind of player he'll be in 2 years? I don't know. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
For sure, we definitely are with this type of conversation.
But I mean, they are important conversations to have, like, and cool to look into about like these hypotheticals.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, the Yankees just you look at their roster right now. There's not a lot of guys you circle and say this guy's going to be on the team for a while. There just aren't. You got Judge, you got Fried. I actually think you can maybe argue you can circle Ben Rice.
Ben Rice, yes.
Wells, I'll say. I'm not going to say
however long his contract is.
Yeah, I mean Rodon. I mean he's already 3 more years. Like I don't like. I guess that's kind of long term, but
I don't even know if you could say not Rice. Wells.
You don't think so?
Not.
What if Rice improves as a defender and he's just your catcher?
Yes, that could be true.
He's a much better hitter.
I think
Dominguez will be there for. Yes, that's one I'll circle too.
Yeah, I'll circle Dominguez. Not that Wells. I'm not saying he's a bad player or doesn't deserve to be on the team. I'm just saying, like, who knows when 4 or 5 years from now, when it comes time to extend him or bring up the next guy that's been sitting down in the minor leagues, like maybe they'll. I don't know. Like Wells is a tough one to try to predict just because there's so much turnover.
It's also just hard to find a better hitting catcher. That's just the reality of the market. You're not going to find a Cal O'Reilly. Like that's kind of a diamond in the gem right there.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. That'll be interesting to do with him. But I kind of want to move on to some basketball talk here. Before we get into the offseason, I kind of want to talk about the Knicks coaching search because I think it's coming to an end. Well, I think there's a very, very likely chance that Mike Brown is the next head coach of the Knicks. Just a little background on him. He's most famous for being the coach of LeBron when young LeBron Cavs. He also coached Kobe Bryant on the Lakers for 2 years, and then he was the Warriors assistant coach for a while, where he kind of got his career back, and then he had honestly I think a pretty good run with the Kings, which was to me his most impressive coaching job, and they kind of just fired him for no reason. So it's interesting that they're going to bring in Mike Brown. Maybe they do Taylor Jenkins, but I'm seeing everything. It's all Mike Brown right now.
And Mike Brown, it's almost similar to Tom Thibodeau, where he got pushed out by the players.
Yeah, the Kings. I mean, Mike Brown's a player's coach, and honestly, like I've like paid it. Like I've looked what he. I'm a big LeBron fan, so I know how he was in the first stint, and it's so weird. It's hard to compare that because the NBA was just so different then, and it's hard to even look at how he was a coach back then. But I think he's improved a lot. I think he learned a lot in Golden State, and I really like what he did with the Kings. I mean, he brought the Kings to their peak in the last 20 years, and he wasn't great. I mean, they made the playoffs, but for that franchise, but he really impressed me as an offensive coach. And I think he can help the Knicks with that because I think the Knicks a lot is hero iso ball. So that'll be interesting to see.
What do you think of them signing Jordan Clarkson?
Jordan Clarkson, yeah, getting their offseason moves. I mean, he kind of like it's a veteran minimum contract, so any veteran minimum contract, nothing to lose in my mind. But for the veteran minimum, a scoring guard off the bench, I assume, essentially just kind of takes those campaign minutes. He's a much better player than campaign. Yeah. Maybe he'll play with Brunson regular season. Playoffs, I don't see that happening. But he's a good bench scorer, and that's and then they signed today that France guy who played for the Spurs the Sixers last year, and he's most famous for dunking on LeBron in the Olympics last year.
Is his name? His name's Yabusele, right?
Yes, that's something I like a lot. And for the contract they got him on, I think that excites me. So they're improving their bench. That's 2 bench depth players that they're getting that did not have last year, which is good. And that for the Knicks, I mean, unless they make some crazy move, like they didn't want Durant, that was a rumor Durant wanted to go there. Unless some crazy LeBron rumors happen, which I don't anticipate happening. My goal for them was to improve the depth and find the right guy for that coach. For Mike Brown, who knows? We won't know until the season starts, but they're adding 2 rotation pieces that they just didn't have last year.
Yeah, of course.
And then I think the Nets have had a weird offseason. Them using 5 first-round picks was a total failure to me. And I'm not a draft expert, but from everything I saw from the actual draft experts, none of those picks were like an oh my god pick. And Brian Windhorst reported that they were getting laughed at because how do you have 5 first-round picks and not move up? Or even just trade for a future first or something like that, or just trade out of the pick.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So,
sorry, it just seemed like a complete mismanagement of assets from Sean Marks.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not a draft expert. Honestly, these guys that the Nets drafted, I really don't. Yeah, I've never heard of them. I don't know much about them, but I saw something that the guy they drafted at 8, his name's Igor Demon from BYU. He's a guard that people were expecting them to be interested in him at 19 or to wait to draft him at 19 or maybe trade up to 13, 14, 15 and draft him. But from what I saw, people were shocked that they drafted him at 8.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked they couldn't find their way to trade up for Ace Bailey. That to me seemed like a rumor that Ace Bailey had a lot of controversy, and apparently he was going to tank his stock, which didn't end up working. Went to Utah, which was not one of the teams he wanted to go to apparently, but now he says he's fine. But anyways, I think Brooklyn was one of them he wanted to go to, and I thought they were going to trade up for Ace Bailey, who the talent's there, and on the team like the Nets, I think would have been a good fit. Like, look, who knows how these 5 first-round picks turn out, but I think it's just crazy they use them. Wait, finish. I'm gonna move on to the trade they made. So finish with the draft.
Okay. It also would have been cool to see Ace Bailey go to Brooklyn after playing at Rutgers. Sure. Brooklyn, the Nets really are New Jersey's team, and for him to do that. Also, the 3 guards they drafted, from what I've seen online, is that all 3 of them are very similar players, and that for Sean Marks, it was kind of just like picking all of them and seeing which one of them pans out. That hey, if we take all of them, one of them's got to be good. So
Yeah, I mean they should have a loaded summer league team. I'll say that.
yeah, they
5
might have
first-round
4. They might have 4 summer league teams.
Yeah, they should be nasty at summer league. But I do like the trade, the Cam Johnson trade. You got Michael Porter Jr., who I'll talk wherever that fit in a second, but you got a 2032 first-round pick from the Denver unprotected, and just who knows what Denver looks like then. That's 7 years away. Jokic is 30. He'll be 37 by then. And that was to me, that was just made sense for both sides because I think Cam Johnson is a player that will fit a contender. And I think the Michael Porter Jr. fit's hilarious because him and Cam Thomas might take 100 shots a game.
I mean, you probably know more about this than me just because you follow basketball more closely. But why? I feel like Michael Porter Jr. is a much better player than Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's a great player, but why would they make this trade and throw in a pick? Like, why not just make it straight up? And I'm guessing that you couldn't just trade the pick for Cam Johnson because of salaries.
Well, Porter makes more than Cam Johnson, so Porter's contract's probably negative. And Michael Porter, when they won it all, he really impressed me as a contributor for them. The last 2 postseasons, he really struggled for them.
Okay.
And I think they just moved on for him because they need defense. I mean, they lost a lot of their two-way players from that championship team, and Jokic and Murray aren't great defenders themselves, and Cam Johnson can do that. But I mean, I think it's a great move for the Nets because
I do too. I was surprised.
in a spot where he could shoot every single shot if he wants to.
I was really surprised when they made that move because also like I don't know, I don't know if he'll be like a good leader per se for this team, but he brings a different type of player that we've been missing since we've had KD and Kyrie where he's I get it, Cam Thomas is kind of this player too, but he can just go and get a bucket. Like he's just a pure
sniper.
Yeah.
He can shoot the hell out of the ball.
Yeah, so yeah.
I mean, I like the Nets will be interesting. I'm just hoping that it feels like they're finally actually starting their rebuild. I think they're really the only player they have in their team. And who knows with Porter? Look at how much they've turned. Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges were the salary part of the Durant trade, and they turned them into a lot. And who knows, if Michael Porter Jr. has a good season, you could just flip him.
That's true.
If he has you could just flip him again.
I just see the Nets because they did this for a few years leading up to 2019, and then the 2 superstars just came available, and they just took big swings at them, and it turned out horribly for them. But I see the same thing happening where, it turns around 2027 supposedly is a big free agent class, and teams will have cap space, and the Nets will probably have cap space. So I can see them putting all their chips into that free agent class.
Yeah, for sure. And the free agency's weird. The new CBA free agency's so dead, though. Like, no one has cap space. The Nets are the only team with like cap space right now.
I saw that, and players are just more incentivized to go sign back with their team because they can make more money that way.
And then you just trade, you just get traded. I mean, if it goes the way I think it's headed, which I think LeBron and the Lakers are headed to a divorce, he's just gonna get traded instead of maybe if it was the old days when teams had cap space, he just opted out. But no one has cap space. And
yeah,
that's just the reality for stars. And I think that's why, you see, it's just hard when you trade for some superstars. You're giving up so much. And, back in the day, they used to come for free, of course, the salary wise, but they would just be a part of your team. And
I'm still skeptical about LeBron opting in, but wanting out because I know teams don't have cap space, but he still could go and take lesser money. I know I know he's still a great player, but it's not like he's playing basketball for money. Like,
Yeah, I just
in these days.
it's like I see both sides of it because like it is easy to say like the guy's a billionaire. He could play in the veteran minimum.
Mm.
But I've seen it's bad for the players market for a player that caliber to take a pay cut. I think it's funny because I think a lot of Laker fans are calling him selfish, and Kobe would never, but they don't remember memory lane when Kobe Bryant, who was a fraction of the player LeBron was at the end of his career, was the highest paid player in basketball.
Yeah.
And I, it's just interesting because like I see both sides to like take a pay cut. You don't need the money, but LeBron James is also a genius businessman. And would a businessman just turn down 52 million for no reason?
No,
That's
that
the
is
only way I
true.
look at it.
But I do see why Laker fans are fed up. Not fed up, but like ups, I don't know what the word is for this because LeBron, like you're a LeBron fan,
Yeah,
but for Laker fans who like grew up Laker fans,
he's
I
not
can see
Kobe in the franchise, of course.
why
Yeah,
yeah, he's not their guy and they're not gonna bend over for him the
mm-hmm.
way that like the Brooklyn Nets would bend over for Kevin Durant
Or,
and Kyrie. I thought when we were getting Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, like we were getting Jesus.
well, I mean, the Lakers to this point, they're from all indications, unless they make a crazy move or two in the next week. LeBron, when that statement came out, it's pretty much make this team better for the short term. He does understand like it's Luka's team and he understands priors in the future. There is a way you could do both. I also am confused why the Lakers are acting like Luka is like a player his rookie or second year. Like Luka's in year 8, and the way they're talking, you'd think he's like Wembanyama's age. But the way the Lakers are reacting, I saw a report where they're prioritizing. They didn't re-sign Dorian Finney-Smith because of the years in the contract because they
Mm.
want cap space later on, and that's a giant middle finger at LeBron. And I think this situation could get spicy. And look, who knows? Maybe the leverage works and they end up LeBron ends up finishing his career in LA. But I wonder if LeBron ends up doing like a Tampa Bay Bucks Tom Brady thing with the new franchise.
I see. I just don't. I think it's still him just putting pressure on them
He
because
wants to stay a Laker, yes, but he might not.
I think yeah. So I agree. I think he wants to stay a Laker, and I can't see him going to play for any other franchise because the reason for him going to LA was for his post basketball career. Like he went to obviously he knew that he still had something left in the tank and could win a championship, and he saw that Anthony Davis was going to end up getting traded to the Lakers, but he ultimately went there for his post basketball career, whether it's going to be in acting,
Yeah,
media,
definitely
whatever.
part of it.
So I don't see a world where, and obviously if the team can be nice to him and do him a favor and trade him where he wants to go.
He has
But
a no trade clause, so he
oh,
will
okay,
get where he
okay.
gets to.
So he does have the control in that. I didn't realize that. But I don't see him playing anywhere else unless it is New York, just because those
I could see
same
Cleveland.
what
I could see Cleveland.
I can see that too. But for the post career opportunities, LA or New York is the place to be. But I could see one
Yeah.
more like let's run it back, go home to Cleveland.
See, I think like what was honestly refreshing to hear is a guy that's like loved LeBron. For the past few years, just from his actions, it's felt like winning. Like when he was in Miami and Cleveland, and before he won the first chip in LA, because probably his only chip in LA, it's gonna end up being winning was the only thing that mattered. And after he won that ring with the Lakers, I've almost felt like it's not all that mattered. And what he says, and like what Rich Paul says, the quotes, LeBron desperately wants to win again. And that was refreshing to hear because there was a moment last year where he was joking around with Anthony Edwards when they were down with 2 minutes left to go in a playoff game. And that I remember I looked at it, I'm like, he would never do that before.
Never.
And
And I sorry to cut you off. I think
you're
the
good.
last few years, it's really just been him waiting to go play with his son, and maybe
Yeah,
he's got that. Maybe he's
broke the
got that it
scoring
factor.
record. That was definitely part of it.
Yeah,
But this was just refreshing to hear from me. I mean, that's why I think he really does want to win again, and he could move on. But the next part is a LeBron trade is just so complicated because realistically it's just matching salary.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's a lot of money, and you're like, if you look at the mock trades, I think LeBron has to commit to at least 2 years if he's going to a new team because 1 year is just too risky, and you could give up everything, and an ankle sprain could be the reason why you don't win it all. I think he has to commit to at least 2 years if he goes somewhere else.
What about so our two big destinations are New York and Cleveland.
Golden State and Dallas are my other two.
Okay, I can see Dallas not working out just because they're in a weird spot with Kyrie being hurt too, and he probably won't play.
Back, though. He should be back. Like they're saying he'll be back January.
Okay, because also those ACLs nowadays are weird because sometimes players end up taking off like a year and a half.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's also a risk. Dallas, I think, just makes sense because when they did the Luka trade, Nico Harrison was saying like we are priors and winning right now, and why not just quadruple down on that and trade for LeBron? And same with Golden State. All they want to do is do everything they can for Steph before he retires. So that's why that makes sense to me. And that one's the cleanest because LeBron and Jimmy Butler's salary straight up could work. Like 1-for-1, you can do that trade. It's not complicated like some of these other ones.
But all right, so I could see Golden State and Dallas why they would want him and why they would go all in. It feels like Dallas at this point has absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah,
but Cleveland and New York, I also kind of feel like they have nothing to lose. But Cleveland, if they just weren't so banged up last year, could have made a run.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I feel like they could be like, we don't want this.
That's a possibility for sure.
We saw what happened last time when Kenny Atkinson was in Brooklyn and KD and Kyrie went there and totally ruined his coaching tenure there.
I mean, that's why Dallas and Golden State are 2 ones I know 100% would do it. New York and Cleveland, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they say yes to it. I think personally, I think both become better teams with him. It's just it's a 2-year thing. That's the scary part of it.
Yeah, it depends what you have to give up for him.
It's just for Cleveland. Cleveland. It's like Jared Allen and probably DeAndre Hunter and Max Strus, which LeBron's of course a better option at the 3 than both Strus and Hunter. But then you give up Jared Allen, who's a good center, so it's going to be complicated. And I think the situation is going to get messy because the Lakers, I think both LeBron and the Lakers, they've had respect for how their relationship's been. And to me, both sides are like too scared to just blank pull the Band-Aid off. LeBron's smart. LeBron doesn't want Kevin Durant gets hated on for requesting a trade. Like for the stuff he's done, the way he's done it. If this happens, it's going to be worded a weird way. Because the whole way Rich Paul worded the statement was so weird to me. I've never seen it kind of made no sense, the statement. And it's like both sides don't want to just be the asshole in the situation. Yeah.
It's also like KD requesting a trade from Brooklyn is different than LeBron James requesting a trade from the Los Angeles.
I don't think anyone would fault LeBron. I really don't. And I don't think the Lakers should be that faulted for it either. I kind of think it's dumb you're not going to try to win it all with LeBron and Luka. In my opinion, but it's not it's not the LeBron AD era. Like this, they're moving on from LeBron. Like he's not going to play forever. I get it.
I think LeBron also, like you said, he's more calculated. He's smart, and he cares about his legacy more than say like Kevin Durant. That's just like
totally
Kevin Durant. I would say is him and Steph are like the 2 second best players of this generation. So
they're 2 and 3 for sure.
Yeah. So that's where that's why I keep comparing it to KD because KD also, I mean, 10 years ago it was, even though Steph is a more decorated player than Kevin Durant, I feel like KD is more of like an alpha type player than Steph, and there's always like a KD
better, but I agree.
Yeah. And he's essentially how like his legacy could be totally different if he went about moving teams in a
different way.
better
Oh,
way.
100%.
So
Definitely. But the thing with the Knicks that interested me is before I say this, I do think LeBron's a better player than Kevin Durant right now, but Kevin Durant reportedly the destination he wanted to go to was the Knicks, and they said we're good. And Durant, hypothetically, you think is going to play longer than LeBron is. So that's why I wonder if the Knicks are interested.
Yeah.
Like, I think 40-year-old LeBron's better than Kevin Durant right now, and I think he actually might fit the Knicks a little better because Durant's a bucket getter like Brunson and Towns. And, like, I think LeBron could do more for that team.
Teams, after seeing some of these failed super teams in the past few years, I think they might also be more reluctant to.
They're scared.
They're scared to bring in some of these established legends, not just superstars. Like these guys are Hall of Fame legends.
Yeah.
So
not Ross for guys. I mean, LeBron.
Yeah,
LeBron, you can argue, is the greatest player ever. Like literally, this is crazy.
Like, I think they're scared because of some of the control that these guys have been handed in years past to bring them in and be worried like these guys in the tail end of their careers, although still great players, might be expecting this level of control that they just should not be entitled to because they're so close to retirement.
I don't think LeBron LeBron has not had control of the Lakers in a long time. They really blamed him and Rich Paul and Clutch Sports for the Russell Westbrook trade, like the front office, and since that moment, I don't think LeBron's had a say in that front office at all. Like pretty much very little.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, we'll see. Maybe LeBron goes there's still a very, very realistic possibility he stays with the Lakers, but the way this is going, the Lakers aren't going to bite on his leverage play. And I do think it's more than just a leverage play. I think he legitimately will request a trade if the roster doesn't get a lot better. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be a spicy. This situation is about to get very, very interesting.
I'm intrigued to see how it goes because it feels like I could never imagine a day where LeBron James gets traded. It just doesn't seem like he switched teams multiple times and that sort of thing. But he just feels like one of those guys. What?
Traded's totally something else. Yes.
Yeah, he just feels like one of those guys where a team wants to have him so badly that they would never even think about trading him, and but like now it's a real possibility that he does get traded.
Yeah, I mean, the plan was to end his career as a Laker, but there's no way both LeBron and the Lakers could have imagined when he signed in 2018 that LeBron would still be even playing at this point. It's 2025, and he's still very good, to his credit. Like, he's still a top 10 player in the league. And if you ignore the age, and I think the number 40 scares a lot of people, but he's still an elite All-NBA player. And I think a lot of teams would love to have him if he's truly available.
And I don't think I get it, the number 40 scares people, but it shouldn't scare people for LeBron James because
LeBron James.
He's just something we've never seen before.
So, but I do think if he does stay a Laker, I am 99% positive this is his last year.
Really?
Yes. Because, look, I don't see him going to a new team unless it's like a multi-year thing. And I think it would have to happen this offseason.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, if he stays a Laker, I think he sticks around for this year.
I don't think his contract's up next year. I don't think they're gonna, in a way, want him, which is crazy. I think they're gonna force him to retirement pretty much. Because
the thing is, I think LeBron, in some way or another, is gonna have like a big retirement tour because he's always been one to like the spotlight like that and everything. But if he came out right now and said that this was his last year and he wanted to retire at the end of this year, I feel like it would be like a weird retirement tour for him on the Lakers.
It's an awkward situation. It's getting very awkward. And to me, after seeing his comments, I think LeBron wants to be one of these guys that retires on top. The Peyton Manning, like win it all and retire. I think that's his ultimate goal.
I could only see him doing a retirement tour if it's in Miami or Cleveland.
Yeah,
because those are his teams.
Yeah, I don't see Miami. Miami's
I don't see him ever going back to Miami. No,
like there's no like they're worse than the Lakers. Like there's no way he does that.
But I if he did a retirement tour in Los Angeles, I just don't think because we saw Kobe do one, but I don't think the Laker fans.
I mean, like Laker fans love LeBron, but it's just weird because his nature, like him and Kobe Bryant kind of competed in the same era. It was always a little bit of like not a rivalry, but there was definitely tension between who was the better player back then. And there are some Laker fans that will never accept LeBron, which I think is kind of stupid to me. So yeah, you're right. They don't love him like Cleveland loves him. You're right.
It's like I was gonna make a joke, but I don't know if it's a good joke. Paul Pierce getting his retirement tour.
It's not that. It's not. Come on. But I get your point. I get the meme you're going with there. But you got anything else to say before we end off? We've been going almost an hour.
I think we covered everything. We
talked a lot. So if LeBron James goes to the Knicks, I am living my dream. I get to cover LeBron every day on this show. So yeah, but thank you guys. We'll come with another episode next week after the Subway series. We'll see. That'll be a fun series to watch. Yes,
sir. Thank you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on everything. Get your Dugout Mugs code Big Apple at checkout. Thank you guys for all the support.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.